There comes a time in your life when you have to stop letting your emotions drive the car of your destiny. Because emotions were never designed to lead you, they were designed to follow your decisions. Listen to me, too many people are living life at the mercy of how they feel. One bad day and they quit, one betrayal and they shut down, one disappointment and they throw away everything they've been building for years. You're walking around with emotions that are running wild. Pain that's unhealed, anger that's unmanaged, fear that's unspoken, and you keep wondering why peace keeps escaping you. You let how you feel decide how you live. You let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. You keep giving your energy to what broke you instead of what's trying to build you. And the truth is, that's not strength. That's emotional immaturity. You were never created to be ruled by your emotions. You were created to master them. You can't keep allowing your feelings to dictate your future. Your destiny doesn't care about your mood. Your purpose doesn't bend to your pain. You've got to learn to stand firm even when you feel weak. You've got to decide that peace is greater than pressure. You've got to train your mind to think higher than your feelings scream, because life will test you. Oh, it will test you. And if you don't learn to control your emotions will destroy what you were meant to build. You can't make every reaction a reflection of your weakness. You can't let every insult become an invitation to lose your self-control. Stop letting people pull you out of your character. Stop letting moments of offense become reasons for regret. Stop letting the storms inside you drown the strength that's already within you. There's a greater version of you, strong, wise, grounded, but you'll never meet that version until you stop being an emotional fool. Emotions are signals, not steering wheels. You were never meant to let your emotions take control of your direction in life. Emotions are there to inform you, to alert you, to make you aware of what's happening inside you and around you, but they were never designed to be in charge. The moment you let your emotions steer your life, you hand over the keys of your destiny to something unstable, something temporary, something that changes with every season. Feelings are like waves. They rise, they fall, they crash, and they calm. But your purpose, your calling, your destiny, those things don't shift with the tide. They remain steady. That's why you can't allow yourself to be driven by how you feel. You see, when you let your emotions take the driver's seat, you end up making choices that make sense in the moment but hurt you in the long run. You say words you can't take back. You burn bridges that were meant to carry you forward, and you walk away from blessings just because you were momentarily frustrated. Emotions can make a fool out of even the wisest person when they're left unchecked. How many people have destroyed something valuable simply because they reacted too soon? How many relationships have been shattered because someone spoke from anger instead of understanding? How many dreams have died because someone got discouraged and gave up too early? You must learn to pause before you act. Don't let your emotions lead your decisions. Let your values do that. When you start seeing emotions as signals, everything changes. When you feel anger, it doesn't mean you have to attack. It means something inside you needs attention. When you feel sadness, it doesn't mean life is over. It means your heart is craving healing. When you feel fear, it doesn't mean you should stop moving. It means you need to strengthen your faith and confidence. Every emotion carries a message, but if you mistake the message for a command, you'll end up moving in the wrong direction. The world is full of people reacting, not responding. They feel something, and instantly they move, they speak, they decide, without thinking if that decision aligns with their purpose. You must grow to a level where your emotions can scream, but your spirit stays calm. Where your feelings can rise up, but your wisdom stands taller. When something offends you, your first thought might be to fight back or prove a point. When you have emotional maturity, you realize that silence can sometimes be the loudest answer. It takes strength to be still when everything inside you wants to react. That's the difference between being ruled by emotions and being guided by purpose. If your emotions are in control, you'll always live a life of inconsistency. One day you're full of faith, the next day full of doubt. One moment you're motivated, the next you're ready to give up. Emotions fluctuate, but principles remain. That's why you need to anchor yourself, not in how you feel, but in what you know is true. You may not feel strong every day, but you are. You may not feel hopeful every day, but hope is still within you. You may not feel like continuing, but your destiny depends on it. Don't let temporary feelings make you question permanent truths. There are moments when you'll have to lead yourself through emotional storms. You'll have to remind yourself that your emotions are not reality, they are experiences. They tell you how something affects you, not what something truly is. People who live by emotion often see only from pain, never from perspective. They interpret everything through the lens of their hurt, so even good things appear threatening, even blessings feel burdensome. But when you learn to recognize that emotions are just signals, you can separate truth from perception. You can say, yes, I feel angry, but that doesn't mean I'm right. You can say, yes, I feel hurt. That doesn't mean I'm defeated. You can feel the emotion without becoming it. Your emotions are meant to serve you, not sabotage you. Think about it. Cars have dashboard lights that flash when something needs attention. That red light doesn't mean you throw the whole car away. It means check the engine. Emotions are the same way. They light up to tell you something's wrong, something needs care, something's out of balance. If you mistake the signal for the solution, you'll end up reacting instead of repairing. When anger shows up, it's a signal that something feels unfair. When fear shows up, it's a signal that your comfort zone is being challenged. When guilt shows up, it's a signal that your conscience is alive. You don't destroy the car because the light came on. You fix what the light revealed. People who live emotionally are always exhausted because they're constantly chasing peace in places where peace can't exist. They think if they can just change how they feel, everything will be fine. But real peace doesn't come from controlling how you feel. It comes from mastering how you think. If you train your mind to lead, your emotions will follow. If you let your emotions lead, your mind will always be in chaos. You have to teach yourself to say, I feel this way, but I choose to move forward anyway. Growth begins the moment your decisions stop bowing down to your emotions. There's nothing wrong with having emotions. Problem begins when emotions have you. You can cry and still be strong. You can feel pain and still move forward. You can be disappointed and still believe. Maturity doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop allowing feelings to control your direction. Every great leader, every wise soul, every peaceful person has learned this truth. Emotional control is spiritual strength. It's the power to be calm when everything around you is shaking. It's the wisdom to choose patience when your heart wants to panic. It's the discipline to stay focused when your emotions want to run wild. Stop letting your emotions write the story of your life. Stop letting temporary feelings interrupt your eternal purpose. Use your emotions as tools to understand yourself, not as weapons to destroy what you love. Every time you master your emotions, you take back a piece of your power. And when you finally stop letting your emotions steer your path, you'll find a peace that no circumstance can shake and a strength that no storm can break. Don't react, respond. That is one of the hardest lessons life will ever teach you, but it's also one of the most powerful. Reactions are born from emotion. Responses are born from wisdom. When you react, you allow your feelings to decide for you in a moment of heat. When you respond, you give your mind time to align with your purpose before you move. The difference between a person who reacts and a person who responds is the difference between chaos and control, between regret and resolution, between weakness and maturity. Reaction is fast, but response is strong. And strength doesn't always show itself through force. Sometimes it reveals itself through restraint. When you react, you are handing your power to the person or situation that provoked you. You are saying, you control how I think, how I speak, how I behave. But when you respond, you take that power back. Pause long enough to choose your words instead of letting your anger choose them for you. You take a breath before you act so that your next move comes from clarity, not confusion. You may feel the same pain, the same frustration, the same pressure, but you no longer let those feelings dictate your direction. That's what maturity looks like. It's not about suppressing your emotions. It's about mastering them so they serve your purpose instead of sabotaging it. So many people destroy moments of peace because they can't control the impulse to react. Someone says something disrespectful, and instantly they feel the need to defend themselves, to prove a point, to fight back. But not every comment deserves your answer. Every battle deserves your energy. The moment you react without thinking, you play into the hands of the very thing that was designed to distract you. Sometimes silence is your greatest defense. Sometimes walking away is your loudest statement. Because response is not weakness. It's wisdom wrapped in discipline. It says, I will not let you pull me into the chaos you live in. Not let my peace be a toy in the hands of your drama. Reaction often comes from ego, part of you that feels it must win every argument and prove every point. Ego hates silence because silence feels like surrender. True strength is never afraid to be silent. Response requires humility, and humility always wins in the long run. When you respond instead of react, you are not saying the other person was right. You are saying you are too focused, derailed by what they did. That is emotional power. That is inner authority. Reaction lives in the present moment. It's blind to the future. But response looks ahead. Response sees the long game. Before you speak, before you move, before you decide, response asks, what will this cost me? A moment of reaction can cost you years of progress. One emotional outburst can ruin a reputation, destroy a relationship, or close a door that would have led to greatness. So before you let your emotions speak, ask yourself, is this reaction worth the price? Most of the time, it isn't. But once those words are spoken, once those actions are taken, can't undo them. That's why wisdom always pauses. Wisdom always waits for truth to catch up with emotion. If you study people who live with peace, you'll notice something. They don't rush to respond to everything. They understand the power of pause. They've learned that silence gives birth to strength. When you react instantly, you give away your peace. But when you pause, when you take a deep breath and let the emotion settle, your mind clears and suddenly you see what your feelings were hiding. Felt like an attack may have been a misunderstanding. What looked like rejection may have been redirection. Reaction is blind, response has vision. Think about how many mistakes happen when people react too fast. Someone criticizes them and they lash out only to regret their words later. Someone leaves them and they chase after them only to realize later that the person was never meant to stay. Someone lies about them. They waste their energy proving the truth to people who were never going to believe them anyway. If they had paused, if they had taken a moment to respond instead of react, they would have protected their peace, their dignity, and their energy. Every attack deserves your reaction because not every battle is your assignment. Reaction is easy because it's natural. Response takes effort because it's intentional. You have to train yourself to respond. You have to practice patience until it becomes your instinct. You have to rewire your mind to stop before you strike. That's what separates the wise from the impulsive. When you live with purpose, you can't afford to waste emotional energy on every disturbance. You must protect your focus. You must guard your peace. Every time you choose to respond instead of react, you are strengthening your emotional muscles. You are proving to yourself that you are in control, not your emotions, not your anger, not your pain. Sometimes the best response is none at all. When people see they can't control your emotions, they lose their power over you. When life throws chaos at you and you stay calm, you confuse the enemy. You frustrate the people who expected you to lose your cool. That's when you realize that peace is not passive, it's powerful. Because real power is not in shouting louder or fighting harder, it's in knowing you could react but choosing not to. It's in the ability to remain still when everything around you tries to shake you. Reaction makes you predictable. Response makes you wise. Reaction keeps you trapped in emotional cycles. Response breaks them. Reaction says, I can't help it. Response says, I choose better. And every time you choose better, your life begins to move in a better direction. Growth is not about what happens to you. It's about how you handle it. If you can learn to pause, to breathe, to reflect before you act, you will find that most problems lose their power over you. What used to control you will no longer shake you. What used to provoke you will no longer move you. So learn to wait before you speak. Think before you move. Feel everything. Don't let those feelings control your next step. When you respond instead of react, you step out of chaos and into peace. You stop living as a slave to emotion and start walking as a master of yourself. That's where real strength is found. Not in how loud you can shout, not in how fast you can fight back, but in how calmly you can carry wisdom when your emotions are begging you to lose control. Master your triggers. That's one of the greatest forms of self-control you will ever learn. You can't stop people from saying or doing things that test your patience. You can decide how you respond to them. Every person has triggers, those buttons that, when pressed, bring out reactions they later regret. For some, it's disrespect. For others, it's being ignored, misunderstood, or betrayed. Whatever your trigger is, the moment you recognize it, you gain power over it. Danger begins when you're unaware of what sets you off, because what you don't control will control you. When you don't master your triggers, anyone who wants to see you fall just needs to touch the right nerve. You become predictable, easily provoked, and emotionally unstable. You start living on defense, reacting to every insult, every comment, every situation that challenges your ego. But when you master your triggers, you take that power back. You learn to pause when something inside you starts to boil. You learn to ask yourself, why is this bothering me so much? Instead of instantly attacking or shutting down, self-awareness becomes your shield and calmness becomes your weapon. Every time someone provokes you, it's not about them, it's about you. It's about what inside you is still unhealed, unbalanced, or unresolved. Triggers are mirrors. They reveal the places where peace has not yet settled. When someone's words cut too deep, it's often because there's already a wound there. When rejection hurts too much, it's often because you've tied your worth to someone's approval. Triggers expose pain, not weakness. But if you ignore them, they'll keep controlling you from the shadows. Mastering your triggers doesn't mean you'll never feel anger, frustration, or sadness. It means you won't let those emotions take over your decisions. You start observing your feelings instead of being consumed by them. You start recognizing patterns. What kind of people, what kind of words, what kind of situations consistently pull you out of character. Once you recognize those patterns, you can break them. You can prepare your mind before your emotions get hijacked. You can choose composure over chaos. Life will always test your emotional limits. People will talk, situations will shift, and pressure will come. But the real battle is not what happens around you, it's what happens inside you. Every time something triggers you, that's your training ground. It's a chance to prove to yourself that you are stronger than your impulses. You can feel the surge of anger and still choose peace. You can feel the sting of disrespect and still walk away with dignity. You can feel the pain of disappointment and still keep your faith intact. That's what mastering your triggers looks like. It's walking through emotional fire without letting it burn your peace. Too many people live on emotional autopilot. They think their reactions are automatic, but they're not. They're habits. They've practiced reacting for so long that it feels natural. But what feels natural isn't always what's right. You have to unlearn the instinct to explode. You have to retrain your mind to pause before you respond. The moment you feel that emotional surge, take a step back. Don't let the heat of the moment dictate the tone of your life. Sometimes walking away doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise enough to protect your energy. The person who knows their triggers is dangerous in the best way. They can walk through conflict without losing control. They can sit in chaos and still look calm. They don't let other people decide how they feel. They've learned that emotional maturity isn't about suppressing feelings, but directing them. You can feel anger and still choose patience. You can feel pain and still choose understanding. You can feel attacked and still choose silence. That's power, not the power to dominate others, the power to master yourself. It's easy to say, they made me angry, but no one can make you anything without your permission. They can provoke you. You decide whether to react. That decision is where your strength lies. When you know your triggers, you become unpredictable to the world. People can throw insults, but they can't get a reaction. They can gossip, but you won't feed the fire. They can try to drag you into drama. Your peace has built walls too high for them to climb. The more you master your triggers, the less you get pulled into emotional traps. Every trigger you master is a part of yourself you've healed. It's a wound that no longer bleeds when touched. It's freedom from being emotionally manipulated by the world. You stop living as a puppet, controlled by the strings of other people's behavior. You start living as the author of your reactions, choosing calm over chaos and grace over aggression. This mastery doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. You'll slip, you'll react, you'll feel regret, but every time you catch yourself faster than before, that's growth. Every time you choose silence instead of shouting, that's progress. Every time you breathe through a moment that once would have broken you, that's strength being built in real time. Some of your biggest breakthroughs will come from moments when you refuse to react. When you learn to let people's words bounce off instead of sink in. When you realize not every attack needs defense, not every disrespect needs correction. Every opinion deserves your attention. Sometimes the greatest revenge is emotional stability. Sometimes the best response is to smile and stay focused while they wonder why their words no longer control you. That's when you know you've grown, when the same situations that once triggered you now teach you. Mastering your triggers is not about perfection. It's about peace. It's not about pretending you don't feel. It's about deciding you'll no longer be ruled by what you feel. You become aware of your inner reactions, and in that awareness, you find control. You begin to respond from purpose instead of pain. The same things that once made you lose your calm now remind you of how far you've come. That's emotional freedom. The kind that no one can take from you, because it doesn't depend on what happens outside, it's built within. So when life presses your buttons, don't be discouraged. See it as a test of your progress. Every trigger is an invitation to rise higher. Every moment of restraint is a victory unseen by the world, but felt in your soul. And when you can face the same situations that used to shake you and remain still, that's when you'll realize you've mastered not just your triggers. Peace is power. That's something most people don't understand until life has shaken them so hard that they finally realize noise doesn't equal strength and silence doesn't mean weakness. Real power is not found in how loud you can shout or how aggressively you can fight back. It's found in how calm you can stay when everything around you is trying to make you lose control. Peace is not passive. It's the highest form of strength. It's standing firm in the middle of chaos and saying, I refuse to let this break me. It's choosing not to match the energy of the storm, but to remain grounded and calm. The world teaches you that you have to fight every battle, respond to every insult, prove every point. But peace teaches you the opposite. It teaches you that not every war is worth fighting. Not every noise deserves your attention, and not every argument is meant for your voice. Peace is the ability to walk through the fire without letting it burn your spirit. It's the inner stillness that says, I may not be able to control what happens to me. I will control what happens within me. That's true power when the situation has the potential to destroy your composure. But you decide to stay calm anyway when you have peace. You no longer seek validation through conflict. You stop trying to prove yourself to people who will never understand your value. You stop letting anger make your decisions and pride write your responses. Peace is quiet confidence. It's knowing that you don't have to fight every battle because not every battle is yours. The one who is truly powerful doesn't need to shout to be heard. They don't need to argue to be understood. They carry an energy that speaks louder than words, a strength that radiates through calmness. It takes more courage to hold your peace than to lose your temper. Anyone can react. It takes discipline to remain composed. Anyone can shout. It takes wisdom to stay silent. The real test of maturity isn't how strong you appear in chaos, but how peaceful you remain when everything inside you wants to explode. Peace isn't something you find outside, it's something you cultivate inside. It's the result of mastering your emotions, controlling your thoughts, understanding that your peace is too expensive to hand over to every disturbance that comes your way. When you live in peace, you stop being easily moved by things that once shook you. You stop giving power to people who try to provoke you. You start seeing through situations that used to blind you. Peace brings clarity. When your emotions are still, your vision clears. You begin to discern what truly matters and what's just noise. You stop reacting to temporary chaos and start responding with long-term wisdom. You realize that losing your peace never solved anything. It only added more confusion. Peace allows you to move strategically instead of emotionally. People who have peace can't be manipulated easily. They're not controlled by compliments or destroyed by criticism. They understand that both praise and rejection are temporary. Peace gives you balance. It teaches you how to stand tall when others try to push you down and how to stay humble when life lifts you up. It reminds you that your worth doesn't depend on external noise, but on internal stillness. When your heart is anchored in peace, no storm can shake you. You may bend, but you won't break. Peace is power because it protects your energy. The world is full of distractions, arguments, comparisons, drama, and if you're not careful, they'll drain you. But when you guard your peace, you preserve your strength. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop trying to control what others think. You stop being pulled into situations that don't align with your purpose. The more peaceful you become, the more powerful you grow, because you stop wasting energy on things that don't deserve it. People often mistake peace for weakness. They think if you don't respond, you're afraid. If you don't fight back, you're losing. But peace is not retreat, it's control. It's the ability to hold your ground without losing your calm. It's choosing not to let your emotions dictate your actions. Sometimes peace looks like walking away. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like forgiveness. But every time it looks like freedom. You can't hold on to peace and bitterness at the same time. You can't hold on to peace and ego at the same time. The moment you choose peace, you let go of everything that doesn't serve your growth. Peace is the quiet assurance that you're not fighting alone, that life doesn't have to be loud for it to be strong. It's that inner whisper that says, I don't need to control everything, I just need to control myself. When you stop chasing control, peace finds you. When you stop reacting to everything that tries to provoke you, peace fills the space where chaos once lived. Peace is not the absence of problems, it's the presence of power in the midst of them. It's knowing that the storm may rage. You don't have to rage with it. If you've ever lost your peace before, you know how costly it is. The moment you let anger take over, it steals your energy. The moment you let bitterness build, it steals your joy. The moment you let worry grow, it steals your clarity. But when you protect your peace, you protect your mind, your spirit, and your future. You stop reacting emotionally and start living intentionally. You start walking with purpose, speaking with calm, and thinking with clarity. So don't give your peace away cheaply. Don't let people rent space in your mind when they've done nothing to earn it. Don't let temporary emotions destroy permanent blessings. Something tries to pull you into chaos. Remind yourself that your peace is your power. The moment you lose it, you lose control of your strength. When you hold on to it, you become unshakable. You become that person who doesn't just survive storms, but walks through them untouched. Because your calm is stronger than the wind around you. Peace is power because it cannot be taken. It can only be surrendered. And once you learn to stop surrendering it, once you decide that no argument, no insult, no setback is worth your peace, you'll walk through life with a quiet authority that no one can challenge. You'll no longer need to prove your worth, defend your value, fight every battle. Your calm will speak for you, your silence will protect you, and your peace will guide you. That's real strength, not in the noise you make, but in the peace you keep. Stop feeding your pain. That's one of the most liberating truths you will ever learn. Pain itself is not your enemy. It's the attention you keep giving it that keeps it alive. Pain will visit everyone at some point, but it was never meant to become your permanent home. The problem is, too many people keep replaying the same memories, repeating the same stories, reliving the same heartbreak, and wondering why the wound never heals. Every time you think about it, talk about it, allow yourself to feel it the same way again. You're feeding it, and anything you feed grows. Pain survives on attention. The more you focus on what hurts you, the more you strengthen its hold over your mind. The more you rehearse your losses, the more your spirit begins to live in defeat. You cannot heal while feeding the very thing that's harming you. Healing requires starving the pain, refusing to give it space in your thoughts and conversations. That doesn't mean denying that it happened or pretending you're fine. It means deciding that your future deserves more of your attention than your past does. You can acknowledge what broke you without continuing to live broken. There's a difference between feeling pain and feeding pain. Feeling pain is natural. It's a part of being human. Feeding pain is choosing to stay there long after the moment has passed. When you keep revisiting the hurt, you're opening the wound that time was trying to close. You're picking at scars that were meant to remind you how far you've come, not how deep you were cut. The more you nurture your pain, the more it consumes your identity until you begin to define yourself by what happened to you instead of who you're becoming. Some people can't move forward because they're addicted to their pain. It's become their comfort zone, their story, their excuse. They hold on to it because it gives them something to talk about, something to feel, even if it's destructive. But you can't heal and hold on at the same time. You can't embrace your new life if your hands are still clinging to your old hurt. The moment you stop feeding your pain, you starve your past of its power. You take back the energy that was being wasted on what cannot be changed and redirect it toward what can be built. Pain feeds on your attention, your thoughts, your emotions. It whispers lies like, you'll never recover, you'll never trust again, you'll never be happy. And if you keep listening, those lies start to feel like truth. But you have to silence the voice of pain with purpose. You have to replace every "I can't" with "I will." You have to stop giving pain your mornings and nights, your conversations and your tears. You can't control what happened, but you can control how much longer you let it rule you. Pain only lasts as long as you let it sit in the driver's seat. You can't change your past, but you can choose what it means to you. You can decide whether it becomes a lesson or a limitation. Feeding your pain keeps you stuck in victimhood, but starving it helps you step into victory. Every time you resist the urge to dwell on what went wrong, you build emotional muscle. Every time you refuse to replay that memory, you weaken its hold. Every time you choose to be present, you reclaim a piece of your peace. Healing is not about forgetting. It's about refusing to live in the memory of what broke you. Quiet kind of strength that comes when you stop feeding your pain. It's the strength to walk away from conversations that reopen wounds. It's the wisdom to stop explaining your hurt to people who will never understand. It's the discipline to stop checking on the things that hurt you just to see if they still do. The truth is, the pain will lose its voice the moment you stop listening. The memories will fade the moment you stop rehearsing them. Bitterness will dry up the moment you stop watering it with your thoughts. Pain will always try to disguise itself as something important. It will tell you that you're processing when you're really prolonging. It will make you believe that holding on gives you control when it's actually controlling you. You have to be honest with yourself about whether you're healing or just hiding behind your hurt. You can't pour new strength into a heart that's already full of old sorrow. You have to make space for peace by releasing the pain you keep feeding. The moment you stop feeding your pain, life begins to change. You start noticing things you were too hurt to see before. You start appreciating small joys that pain once blinded you to. You start attracting peace because you're no longer radiating bitterness. Enough. You start meeting people who see you for who you are becoming, not who you were when you were broken. The light returns not because the pain vanished, but because you stopped giving it permission to block your view. You can't heal in the same environment that keeps feeding your hurt. Sometimes that means leaving behind certain people, certain conversations, certain memories that keep reminding you of your pain. Sometimes you have to create distance from the things that keep triggering your wounds. That's not avoidance, it's wisdom. You're protecting your peace, not pretending your pain doesn't exist. Healing doesn't mean you forget the past. It means the past no longer controls your emotions. Stop feeding your pain with thoughts, attention, and memory. Feed your healing instead with gratitude, forgiveness, and growth. Every day you choose not to relive the hurt, you reclaim your freedom. Every moment you refuse to revisit the past, you teach your heart how to live again. Pain loses power when you stop serving it. It only grows in the soil of your focus. The moment you turn that focus toward peace, toward joy, toward the future, the pain begins to wither. You've suffered long enough. You've cried enough tears over what's already done. The pain had its time, but it doesn't deserve your lifetime. Let it go. Not because it didn't matter, because you matter more. Starve the pain and feed your purpose. Stop watering your wounds and start growing your wisdom. Peace you've been praying for will only come when you stop feeding what's been hurting you. Because healing doesn't begin when the pain ends. It begins when you decide to stop giving it life. Stop expecting everyone to understand your emotions. Everyone has the capacity to feel the depth of your pain, the weight of your silence, or the meaning behind your tears. And that's not always a reflection of their cruelty. It's a reflection of their limits. You keep getting hurt because you keep expecting people to meet you at the same emotional level that you live on. You expect them to feel like you do, to care like you do, to respond like you do. But some people simply can't. They weren't built to carry the emotional depth that you carry. The more you expect understanding from those who don't have the tools to give it, the more disappointed and frustrated you'll become. Your heart has a language that not everyone speaks. You might be expressing yourself with honesty. If the other person can only hear from their own level of maturity, they will misinterpret everything you say. You might be showing love, they'll see control. You might be showing vulnerability, and they'll see weakness. You might be asking for understanding, and they'll hear accusation. That's the danger of expecting emotional clarity from people who live behind emotional walls. You keep trying to explain your pain to people who have never dared to face their own. You have to learn that emotional maturity is not universal. Some people are physically grown but emotionally underdeveloped. They can discuss careers, money, appearances, but freeze when it's time to talk about feelings. You can pour your heart out, hoping they'll finally get it. But it's like giving a book to someone who never learned to read. They'll hold it, look at the cover, maybe pretend to understand. The message will never reach them. And the more you try to make them understand, the more drained you become. Sometimes peace is realizing that you don't need them to understand to move forward. Stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Some people don't listen to understand, they listen to defend. You can cry in front of them and they'll still find a way to make your pain about them. You can open your heart and they'll twist your words. That's because empathy requires humility, and not everyone has that. Empathy is not just hearing someone's pain, it's allowing yourself to feel a glimpse of it without turning away. But when someone is too self-absorbed, never have the emotional space to make room for your feelings. It's time to stop expecting healing from the same people who caused your wounds. You can't expect comfort from those who never gave you care, understanding from those who never gave you attention, closure from those who never gave you commitment. You keep reopening wounds, waiting for an apology that may never come, trying to make someone see the pain they caused when they can't even see themselves clearly. Some people are not equipped to give you emotional peace because they haven't even made peace with their own past. You have to stop chasing understanding and start protecting your energy. Your healing doesn't depend on someone else's comprehension. It depends on your decision to let go of the need to be understood. When you stop explaining your emotions to people who refuse to understand, you free yourself from a cycle of emotional exhaustion. You don't have to prove the validity of your feelings to anyone. You don't have to justify your tears, your silence, or your reaction. You are allowed to feel deeply without an audience that claps for your vulnerability. Real strength is knowing how to feel everything without demanding others to feel it with you. When you stop expecting everyone to understand your emotions, you start realizing how many of your disappointments were self-created. It's not their fault they couldn't feel your pain the way you do. It's your expectation that made it hurt more. You can't teach depth to someone who lives on the surface. You can't teach compassion to someone who hasn't learned self-awareness. People can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. If they've never faced their own heartbreak, they won't know what to do with yours. If they've never processed their own anger, they'll project it onto you. And if they've never learned to love themselves, they'll never love you the way you deserve. So instead of craving understanding from others, start seeking it within yourself. When you understand your own emotions, when you know where they come from, what triggers them, how to soothe them, you stop depending on external validation. You stop needing others to make you feel seen because you start seeing yourself. That's emotional independence. That's peace. The more you understand yourself, the less you'll need explanations from others. The less you'll crave validation, the less disappointment will have power over you. Understand that emotional connection is not built through words alone. It's built through awareness, empathy, and honesty. You can't force someone to care. You can't train them to listen. You can't teach them to feel if they've chosen numbness as their shield. You can only choose to protect your own peace. Sometimes silence is the greatest explanation you can offer. Sometimes walking away speaks louder than another round of emotional pleading. You can't change people by explaining yourself to them. You change yourself by no longer expecting what they cannot give. When you stop expecting others to understand your emotions, you regain your balance. You stop feeling like your peace depends on their reaction. You stop bending your truth to make it easier for them to digest. You stop shrinking your feelings just to make them comfortable. Instead, you learn to carry your emotions with grace. You learn to comfort yourself when others don't show up. You learn that solitude doesn't mean loneliness, it means strength. Because peace doesn't come from being understood by others, it comes from understanding yourself so deeply no one else's lack of understanding can shake you. At the end of the day, it's not your job to make others understand your emotions. It's your job to manage them, to honor them, to express them wisely, to protect them from people who won't value them. Some will get it. Some never will. But your peace doesn't have to depend on their comprehension. The more you release the need to be understood, the freer you become. Because true emotional power is not found in being understood by the world. It's found in being at peace with yourself, even when no one else understands. Stop reacting to everything that touches your emotions. Every comment deserves your response. Not every situation needs your energy, and not every offense requires your attention. The moment you learn to control your reactions, you gain power over your life. People lose their peace not because of what happens to them, because of how they respond. When you react to everything emotionally, you hand your power to everyone around you. You allow the actions of others to dictate your state of mind. That's why you feel drained, unstable, and constantly unsettled, because your emotions are being pulled in every direction by people who don't even deserve that level of influence in your life. You have to understand that emotional control doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you choose not to be ruled by what you feel. You can feel anger and not speak it. You can feel pain and not show it. You can feel disappointment and still move forward. Maturity is not about suppressing emotions, it's about mastering them. When someone tries to provoke you and you don't react, that's power. When someone disrespects you and you respond with silence instead of rage, that's growth. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't need to justify your peace to those who thrive on chaos. Sometimes the best response is no reaction at all. Your emotions are like a steering wheel. If you let other people grab hold of it, they'll drive you wherever they please. Every time you explode in anger, break down in frustration, or respond impulsively to provocation, you're letting someone else steer your life. They poke at your feelings and you dance to their rhythm. That's why some people test your patience. They want to see how much control they have over you. But when you stop reacting, they lose their power. They can't manipulate silence. They can't control someone who refuses to play their game. You don't have to respond to every insult, every rumor, every attack. You don't have to explain yourself to those who've already decided who you are. You don't need to waste your energy proving your worth to people who never valued you in the first place. Every time you react emotionally, you confirm that they still have access to your peace. Every time you respond, you're feeding the very energy that's trying to drain you. When you stop reacting, when you choose to stay calm in the storm, you shift the power dynamic. You go from being controlled to being in control. There's strength in silence that words can never achieve. Silence confuses your enemies, frustrates manipulators, and protects your energy. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise, because not every battle is meant to be fought. Some are meant to be ignored. Some are meant to be walked away from. The wise understand that reacting to every offense is like throwing fuel on every spark. It only keeps the fire alive. The mature know how to let things burn out on their own. You don't have to prove your strength through reaction. Sometimes your greatest strength is restraint. When you stop reacting, you create space between what happens and how you feel. In that space lies wisdom. That's where you decide whether something deserves your peace or not. Most of the things that steal your calm aren't even worth your time. Someone talks behind your back, ignore it. Someone tries to provoke you, walk away. Someone doesn't respect you, set boundaries. Don't trade your peace for temporary satisfaction. Don't let momentary emotions create permanent consequences. A calm mind sees clearer, speaks wiser, and acts stronger. Every reaction is an energy transaction. When you respond emotionally, you're spending your peace on something that doesn't bring you growth. Think about how many times you felt exhausted after an argument, frustrated after defending yourself, or heavy after explaining your side. That's because your emotions are currency and you've been giving them away freely. When you stop reacting, you start saving your emotional energy. You invested it in your goals, your healing, your purpose. You stop being a prisoner to every mood swing and start being the master of your mind. Emotional control doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care in a way that doesn't destroy you. It means you've learned to pause before responding. You've learned that not every offense deserves a reaction because some people feed on chaos. The more you react, the more they win. They want to see you lose control because your reaction validates their power. But when you remain calm, when you stay grounded and unbothered, you take that power back. You show that your emotions belong to you, not to the circumstances or people around you. When you stop reacting emotionally, you stop giving small things the power to ruin big moments. You stop letting petty behavior disturb your peace. You stop letting negativity distract you from your purpose. Some things are not worth your energy, not because they don't matter, because your peace matters more. Every time you choose calmness over chaos, you're strengthening your inner stability. Challenge, you're telling your emotions who's in charge. And that discipline will become your greatest weapon in a world that's constantly trying to provoke you. You don't have to win every argument to win your life. You don't have to respond to every offense to maintain your dignity. People who truly understand you don't need explanations, and those who misunderstand you aren't owed them. The moment you stop reacting, you rise above. You begin to see life differently. You realize that not everything deserves a response, not every situation deserves your time, and not every person deserves access to your emotions. When you control your reactions, you control your outcomes. You stop letting your emotions make decisions your wisdom should make. You stop creating storms with your own responses. The more you practice restraint, the more peace becomes your natural state. That's how you grow beyond being emotionally reactive. You become emotionally intelligent. You start choosing peace even when chaos surrounds you. You start responding with silence when disrespect confronts you. You start walking away when pride tempts you to prove a point. Because the truth is, not reacting doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about yourself enough to protect your peace. So stop reacting to everything that shakes your emotions. The world doesn't need another loud voice. It needs a calm spirit. Don't let temporary emotions destroy permanent blessings. Don't let people who don't deserve your attention rob you of your energy. Real strength isn't shown through loud reactions, it's shown through quiet control. The most powerful person in the room is not the one who shouts the loudest, it's the one who remains calm when everyone else loses their composure. You hold that power within you. Protect it, guard it, and remember, peace is not the absence of chaos, it's the mastery of reaction. Stop confusing emotions with decisions. Feelings are temporary, but decisions create direction. Too many people make permanent choices based on passing emotions, anger, loneliness, fear, jealousy, and then spend years trying to undo the damage. Emotions are powerful, but they are not always truthful. They fluctuate with circumstances. They rise and fall with moods, environments, even the people you're around. But decisions once made can shape your destiny. That's why wisdom teaches you to feel deeply but decide carefully. You can't afford to let temporary emotions decide the course of your permanent life. There are moments when your emotions will scream louder than your reason. When anger fills your heart, it will tell you to say things you can't take back. When loneliness grips you, it will convince you to settle for people who don't value you. When fear whispers, it will make you believe your dream is impossible. Emotions are not guides, they're signals. They show you what's happening inside, but they should never be the captain steering your ship. If you follow every emotional wave, you'll live a life of instability, always reacting, always regretting, always rebuilding what emotions destroyed. A mature mind learns to pause between feeling and acting. That pause is where wisdom lies. When you're angry, you wait before speaking. When you're hurt, you breathe before deciding. When you're uncertain, you pray before moving. That pause saves you from countless regrets. But emotional people skip the pause. They let their pain make promises, their anger make threats, and their fears make decisions. And later, when the emotions fade, they're left with consequences that last far longer than the feelings ever did. Think about how many people have walked away from good relationships because of temporary hurt. How many have quit dreams because of a season of discouragement? How many have spoken words in anger that destroyed bridges they later wish they could rebuild? All because they let emotions lead. Feelings make great servants, but terrible masters. You can acknowledge what you feel without obeying it. Care enough. You can admit that you're angry without acting in anger. You can recognize your pain without letting it rule your choices. Self-control doesn't mean denying emotion. It means directing it. There's a difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is emotional. It's instant, unfiltered, and usually regrettable. Responding is intentional. It's thoughtful, patient, and often wise. People who live by reaction spend their lives apologizing. People who live by response spend their lives at peace. When you react from emotion, you act from impulse. But when you respond from reason, you act from clarity. That's why emotional discipline is a sign of strength. It's not coldness, it's control. It's refusing to let momentary feelings sabotage long-term purpose. Your emotions were meant to inform you, not instruct you. Anger tells you something feels wrong, but it doesn't tell you what to do about it. Sadness tells you something matters deeply. Doesn't mean you give up. Fear warns you of danger, but it doesn't mean you stop moving. Every emotion is a message, not a command. The problem is, people stop listening to the message and start obeying the emotion. They let their feelings make decisions their minds should be making. That's why emotional maturity is about balance, honoring your feelings without surrendering to them. You can't build a stable life on unstable emotions. If your choices change every time your mood changes, your life will be full of confusion. Today you'll love something, tomorrow you'll hate it. Today you'll commit, tomorrow you'll quit. Emotions are waves. They rise and crash, but wisdom is the anchor that keeps you steady. You can't control the waves, but you can control your anchor. Emotional discipline gives you that anchor. It reminds you that not every feeling deserves a decision. Some emotions just need to be felt, processed, and released, not acted upon. People who let emotions lead often say, "I felt like it was right at the time," but feelings can deceive. What feels right in anger may look foolish in peace. What feels comforting in loneliness may turn toxic in clarity. What feels urgent in fear may reveal itself unnecessary later. That's why you must train yourself to make decisions in calmness, not in chaos. Because when you're calm, you see things as they are. When you're emotional, you see things as your feelings paint them to be. You'll know you've grown when you no longer let emotions push you into impulsive choices. When you learn to sit with your feelings without acting on them. When you can say, I feel this, I will wait before deciding. That's where true strength lies, in patience, not passion. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is nothing until the storm inside settles, because emotions blur your vision, and making decisions in emotional fog leads to collisions you could have avoided if you just waited for clarity. Don't let temporary emotions create permanent damage. Don't end relationships in anger that could have been healed in understanding. Don't quit dreams in discouragement that could have turned into breakthroughs with time. Don't make promises in excitement you can't keep in reality. Emotions change, truth doesn't. And truth is what keeps your life grounded when emotions try to pull you in every direction. Feel, but don't fall. Think, decide, but decide from peace. Emotional discipline doesn't mean you become heartless. It means you become wise enough to protect your heart from your own impulses. You stop being a prisoner to how you feel. You start being the master of how you move. You realize that your emotions are part of you, but they are not you. They don't define you, and they don't have to decide for you. The more you learn to separate feelings from decisions, the clearer your path becomes. So stop letting emotions drive your destiny. Let wisdom lead, let patience guide, and let peace confirm your direction. Don't make decisions in storms. Make them in stillness. Don't build your life on moods. Build it on meaning. Feel your emotions fully, but once they've passed, decide your future wisely. Because emotions will visit and leave, but decisions remain. The life you live tomorrow will be shaped by the choices you made today, whether from emotion or from wisdom. Choose wisely.